Go to your backyard right now. Pick up a handful of dirt. Feel the grit, the damp, the weight of it in your palm. You would never put that in your mouth. The thought alone makes you recoil. But there was a time when your ancestors did exactly that. The way you might eat something you have been craving for weeks. This has been happening for about 2 million years, on every continent, in hundreds of cultures, across every era of human history. Scientists have a word for it: geophagy. The reason your ancestors ate dirt and clay, also known as white dirt, was not ignorance. It was not desperation. It was knowledge so precise that modern pharmaceutical science spent decades catching up to it. The earliest evidence comes from sites in Africa, roughly 2 million years old. Archaeologists found clay-rich deposits in ancient hearth areas, not dragged in by accident, not a mistake brought in deliberately and consumed. It was not just Africa. Caves in Europe, middens in the Americas, burial sites in Asia. Ancient coprolites, fossilized human feces from sites across multiple continents, have tested positive for high clay content consistent with intentional consumption. Wherever humans lived, in virtually every era, in every climate, on every landmass, they were eating the ground beneath their feet. Geologists and anthropologists have documented this behavior in over 200 distinct cultures worldwide. But it wasn't random dirt. Your ancestors were not scooping up whatever was under them. They were specifically selecting clay. Fine-grained clay pulled from particular deposits they returned to again and again. Some sites show evidence of continuous use spanning thousands of years, generation after generation walking back to the same patch of earth. The clay had texture, smooth on the tongue, almost waxy. Nothing like the gritty topsoil above it. Some varieties carried a faint mineral smell. Others tasted faintly of chalk. Certain clays left a coating on the inside of the mouth that lingered for hours. This was not accidental. This was deliberate consumption of a specific substance. And someone had to teach it to someone else for it to survive 2 million years. So why? Why would a human being voluntarily eat this? The obvious answer is starvation. Nothing else to eat, so they eat the earth. That explanation sounds obvious, right? In 2011, researcher Sarah Young at Cornell University published the most comprehensive study of earth eating ever conducted. She compiled documented accounts of geophagy spanning 65 countries and thousands of years of recorded history. What she found destroyed the starvation theory. People did not eat earth when food was scarce. They ate it when food was plentiful. They ate it when they were pregnant. They ate it when they were sick. They ate it in the middle of summer harvests, surrounded by more food than they needed. This was not hunger. This was medicine. Here is what your ancestors understood before science had a name for it: clay binds. At a molecular level, fine-grained clay particles carry a negative electrical charge. Plant toxins, bacterial toxins, the kind that cause food poisoning, carry a positive charge. When clay enters the stomach, those toxins can bind to it and pass out of the body before being absorbed into the bloodstream. Researchers call this the detoxification hypothesis, and the evidence behind it is significant. Think about what your ancestors were actually eating 300,000 years ago. Raw tubers packed with natural defense chemicals. Berries that were sometimes fine and sometimes lethal, and the only way to know was to eat them. Eating clay before or during a risky meal reduced the chance it killed you. Laboratory studies have confirmed this. Clay significantly reduces absorption of aflatoxin, a deadly mold toxin commonly found on stored grains and nuts. Your ancestors were not eating just dirt, they were taking medicine. But detoxification was only part of it. Certain clays contain minerals the body needs, but can be difficult to obtain in sufficient amounts from wild food alone: calcium, iron, magnesium, zinc. Researchers have proposed that geophagy served as a form of mineral supplementation. In pregnant women, the demand for these minerals rises sharply. A developing fetus draws calcium and iron from the mother at rates that can cause deficiency. Morning sickness compounds the problem. If you cannot keep food down, you cannot absorb what you need. Clay may have addressed both at once. Certain clays have documented antacid properties that can settle an irritated stomach. This is not ancient history. In the American South, rural Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, a practice known locally as eating white dirt persisted well into the 20th century. Specific white kale and clay was sold openly in corner stores and roadside stalls. Pregnant women bought it by the bag. Researchers documented this practice in the 1960s and traced it back through generations to West African cultural traditions stretching back centuries further. The clay those women were eating was the same substance that became the active ingredient in the original formula of kaopectate, one of the first commercially produced anti-diarrheal medications. The same material, pulled from the same type of deposits, used for the same reason. Your ancestors had it figured out long before it had a brand name. And it was not just humans. Elephants travel miles out of their way to reach specific clay deposits called mineral licks. Parrots in the Amazon gather by the thousands on exposed clay cliffs every morning. Deer, bison, gorillas across the animal kingdom, on every continent, the deliberate consumption of clay at specific sites is documented wherever researchers have looked. Our closest primate relatives engage in geophagy today, suggesting the behavior is ancient, predating our species entirely. By the time your direct ancestors inherited it, eating specific earth from specific places was already an old practice passed from parent to child across evolutionary time. This was not a human invention, it was an inheritance. Here is what disturbs researchers when they look at this too closely. In clinical studies of pregnant women who crave non-food substances, a condition called pica, earth and clay consistently rank among the most commonly craved substances worldwide. These women are not being irrational. Their bodies have detected a deficiency, and the craving that fires is for the same material their ancestors consumed, specifically in response to that deficiency, for millions of years. The doctors who treat pica as a disorder are right that the behavior is often harmful in a modern context. Soil today carries certain pathogens and contaminants ancient clay deposits did not. But the signal itself is not broken. It is ancient. It is accurate. It is just reaching for a solution that no longer exists in the form it expects. The program is still running. Go back to that handful of dirt in your backyard. It is not food, you know that. But 2 million years of your ancestors did not know that. They knew the opposite. They did not have a word for any of this. They did not need one. Their bodies told them what to do, and they listened. We stopped listening. We built supplement aisles and antacid tablets and prenatal vitamins. We explained the craving away, called it a disorder, and forgot that the ground itself was once part of the medicine cabinet. Your ancestors did not eat dirt because they had nothing else. They ate it because they understood something your pharmacy discovered 100 years ago, repackaged and sold back to you.